judges. I know that you guys worked at boring, lame jobs before you even got your dream job as a judge. Okay? Where you've dealt with gossiping, unprofessional co-workers in your past. And you probably still deal with gossiping, unprofessional co-workers who are judges, lawyers, etc. right now behind closed doors. Okay? Stop thinking that stop thinking that bullying only stops in adulthood when it comes to the conservatee. Like, stop only thinking that the conservatee doesn't go through bullying at an adult age. Like, they don't go through stuff. They don't go through bullying. They don't go through stuff. And then you don't trust them when they say they've improved in a lot of different ways. And yet you calling them paranoid. No, they're not paranoid. You're paranoid. Alright? If you always got to find some ulterior motive behind something that they say, if you always got to find a flaw behind something they say, they're never going to get out of a conservatorship. You're never going to find some truth behind what they say if they always got to need somebody they don't like to represent them when they're always going to lie on them. Like, if them being authentic isn't good enough, then nothing they say is good enough. They're going to have to record people without their consent to make it good enough. And if you do not like that, then let their authenticity be good enough, because relying on people who do not like them to represent them is not a good idea. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Always looking for an ulterior motive behind something they say. And then you calling them paranoid whenever they accuse their representative of something. You're the one who's paranoid if you can't trust anything that they're saying. Even when their face clearly says authenticity. You're paranoid. So I'm just saying is this. Go on the internet and look up a lot of stuff on body language and reading facial emotions. Okay, look up micro expressions, because a lot of y'all be making the wrong decisions. Y'all are not very good with your intuition, because people will be manipulating you and getting away with stuff and using your bad intuition to their advantage. Like with your little pledge saying, I'm going to tell the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Like, let me tell you something. Nobody's obligated to tell the truth. They're going to lie either way. Nobody's obligated to tell the truth. People are going to lie anyway. Like, what is that going to do? What is that little pledge going to do? You can't make nobody tell the truth. You can't make nobody tell the truth. That's why I be telling people, make somebody say stuff on backwards. Make the court case longer. Alright? Or put them in some kind of room where they can say it backwards or something. If I was manipulative, I wouldn't be telling you none of that stuff. But back to what I was saying. like, how do I say this? Like, here's the thing. If somebody gone to the point where they have to record people without their consent, have to be illegal and record people without their consent, sometimes even put them online, and even tell you that they're doing that stuff. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. Because sometimes you guys don't believe in authenticity. You guys are bad at reading emotions. You just guys just look at who says this and who says that, and then y'all pick a side. Y'all just choose who to trust, and then that's it. And then whenever you guys hear a diagnosis, y'all be like, oh, this person has a diagnosis, and I'm going to assume that you're a sociopath. You're never honest. So I'm going to listen to what the normal person says, and I'm going to assume that person is always honest. And I'm going to only listen to him or her. And that's what happened to me. So that's the discriminatory thing. That's the discriminatory thing. So here's the thing. Just choosing sides based on stereotypes. Learn to be more educated through people who are already going through it. Through people who are already going through it. I've had experience with schizophrenia, and I have never truly had a true schizophrenic episode. Alright, schizophrenia is like a true schizophrenic episode, like being in a horror movie. It's like you're in a whole different world, a distorted horror movie. And then once you hurt somebody, or once somebody touches you, or once somebody hurts you, you're in reality. Like, it's something like that. Or like you see stuff that isn't there, or you're banging your head on the wall for no reason. That's a schizophrenic episode. Like, you don't have to be a murderer. You could just be seeing. You're just in a whole new world. You're just in a whole new world. But me, I never been that way. Like, I've been 100% sober. I've seen things. I was always scared to go to sleep in the dark because I've been seeing creepy hallucinations at night. And the more I feed into these hallucinations, the more likely they are to scare me and to jump scare me and etc. But once I rebuked them in the name of Jesus, they went away, and I'm able to sleep more in the dark. I can sleep more in the dark peacefully. But whenever I sleep in the lights, when I sleep with the lights on, I'm just lazy. I'm just too lazy to do it. But it's like, I can still sleep in the dark. I have no problem doing that. It's like now, whenever I sleep in the dark, it's more brighter when I sleep in the dark. Uh, I could literally get rid of all the night lights and it just still feels bright. It can still feel brighter when I sleep in the dark. How do I say this? Um, I could sleep peacefully and it was all good. I don't see things that are not there anymore. Um, uh, how do I say this? How do I say this? I don't hear voices that are in my head. But when I hear voices, I just hear God's voice and the devil's voice. But it's not schizophrenia. Because here's the thing. If that's the case, then everybody's got it. Because everybody has heard some voice in their head. Like, the proof that God is real is why do our minds have a voice of its own? Like, why do our minds have a mind of its own? Like, not only that our minds think thoughts, but our minds tell us what to do as if it's talking to us. Like, as if it's another person. Like, let's say for example, we're cutting something and our minds tell us how much of the leek we can cut and put into the pots. Or we want to put something in the microwave and then our minds tell us, okay, this is how long you should put it in the microwave for. You get what I'm saying? Like, God has been with us. When our minds tell us what to do as if it was another person, our brains are conscious as if it was another person, then schizophrenia doesn't exist. Like, people who got schizophrenia should be delivered from it. And here's the thing. Just because a schizophrenic person is upset does not mean that there are threats. Just because a schizophrenic person is upset, sad, or angry does not mean they are threats. Alright, it all is all about their actions. Because how is a little piece of medicine going to really control their actions? Like, you could just literally teach them how to control their actions without medicine. Like, a medicine ain't going to control their free will. A little piece of pill ain't going to control their free will. You could give me all the pills you want, and I could still be in my worst behavior. You could literally give me all the pills in the world, increase all the medicine, and I could still be in my worst behavior as long as how do I say this? As long as hold up. As long as there's no lesson, no verbal lesson to really teach me, like, as long as there's no room for me to actually learn the lesson on how to control my actions. Like, here's the thing. If a schizophrenic person is not getting along with their roommates, we can't just automatically assume that it's that person's fault. It's not always that person's fault. We can't just make that person the scapegoat, because if that person's always at fault, then then Like the person who's blaming them for everything, for every conflict, is a narcissist who refuses to take accountability, who's always saying that that person is always falsely accusing, is always being delusional. Like, here's the thing. Nobody is always falsely accusing. Nobody is always being delusional. There's got to be some form of balance. Some form of balance of sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes you're wrong. And there are sometimes a balance. Sometimes there's not always a balance. Sometimes there's a you're more wrong than I'm wrong, but we can't just automatically put the schizophrenic person more on the wrong than a normal person, because schizophrenic people be getting that too much, because people with mental disabilities diagnoses be getting that stuff way too much, be getting the blame on everything way too much. You need to ask the normal person, you need to ask the person, instead of asking the diagnosed person, what did you do that causes problem, ask the normal person sometimes, like, what did you do that caused that person this way? Because it's like sometimes, because here's the thing, how do I say this? Sometimes it's not always the diagnosis person. You gotta look at both sides of the story. You gotta look at both sides of the story. All I'm gonna say is this. You gotta look at both sides of the story, because sometimes it's not the diagnosed person's fault. It's the normal person's fault who refuses to go to therapy, who is probably not normal at all, and just don't want to take accountability for their actions and just want to blame the diagnosed person for everything, for every conflict that happens in the household. And it'd be like, oh no, we don't know what's going on. This person's just falsely accusing out of nowhere. This person's just doing this and that. Like, here's the thing. Stop being so biased and only making the mentally disabled, mentally ill person, mentally whatever person the scapegoat of every conflict that they have with someone. Alright? They've gone through enough. Alright? Like, only listening, like, never listening to the diagnosed person. I don't even care how mentally ill they are. I don't care what kind of mentally ill person they are. Like, never listening to these people because of their diagnosis is literal discrimination. At least listen to both sides and pay attention. Because if they're always calling that person crazy in every conflict, then the normal person is in the wrong. They can say, oh, it's not that I'm always making them the scapegoat, or that I'm always accusing them of always falsely accusing. If they still indirectly accusing them of falsely accusing them of always being in the wrong indirectly, then they are in the wrong. Alright, that's how you know you're being manipulated. Alright? Like, just because somebody is not diagnosed with somebody does not truly mean that they're really normal. Like, you gotta understand, majority of normal people are really not normal. Like, here's the thing: most people should go to therapy, but at the same time, I understand why some people don't. Because here's the thing. Because here's the thing. If therapy just gives you a diagnosis that gets you discriminated against, then I don't blame them. Then I don't blame people for. Then I don't blame people. Then I don't blame people for not going to therapy. I'm gonna be honest. Like, therapy is helpful at times. Therapy is helpful at times, but now these diagnoses are just increasing discrimination, and they're just not helping anybody understand people. It's just increasing discrimination. So I think it is best. So I think it's best, like, hey, look up symptoms. Look up symptoms of what you think you have. Look up symptoms of what you think you have. Pray for deliverance of it. Pray for deliverance of what you. So those who got whatever thing you think you have, like, pray for deliverance. Oh, look up symptoms. Pray for deliverance of what you think you have. And if you don't and if you don't believe in if you don't believe in deliverance, look up ways on how to cope with these things. Look up ways on how to take care of yourself. All right, look up ways on how to cope with these things. Look up ways on how to take care of yourself. All right, that's what I'm gonna say. So don't tell nobody about what you're diagnosed with, what you think you're diagnosed with, because diagnosis will ruin your life. Therapy backfires, and whatever you diagnose with will ruin your life, especially when it comes to toxic people who know about your diagnosis. My mom tried that on me. She was like she used my diagnosis as an excuse for people to not take me seriously. Nobody listens to me once they hear schizophrenia or autism. I can't even feel a negative emotion without her telling people, oh, she's just throwing a tantrum. When people look at me like I'm stupid, when mom tells people that, it just makes me want to smack them in the face. But I gotta be like, God, give me strength. Give me strength. God, give me strength. More like punch them, but God, give me strength. Give me strength. God bless.